Hello everybody, welcome to My Sweet Home Living. My name is Tracy Campbell. Come on in. I'm loving some spring DIYs, and if you love primitive style, vintage style, then hop on in here and see what I got to show you tonight. I love taking items that probably have around your home and flipping them or repurposing them into some beautiful rustic, vintage, or primitive style decor. And tonight we are using one of my favorite items, and it's going to be a jar. I've done lots of jars in the past. However, this is a new technique for me, and I can't wait to experiment with it and show you guys if it's a flip or a flop. We'll see. We'll see. You will come on in and tell me hello or good evening. Ooh, I never go live in the evening, but here's two surprises tonight, you guys. Come on in. We'll see who we have in the nighttime crowd tonight. This is a live 45-minute segment that is cross-streaming over into the Craft on the Clock group. If you've not heard of us and you love watching live crafting or DIYing, then you'll want to check it out. It's a great place. We have over 130, I think, creators that share their talent and artists and skills with you over in that group, so you'll want to be sure and check it out. Hello, Miss Andrea from Texas, and Stacy. Hello, Miss Shar. Hello, Miss Rose. I'm trying a new technique tonight, you guys. And Miss Shar from Shar's Art from the Heart, her motto is "You never know until you try." Well, we are putting that to the test tonight with a faux blackened beeswax finish on a jar. So you all get to come in and experiment. If it's a total flop, you'll know not to try it. But if it's a total success, then you'll be like, ooh, I gotta try it. I've been hoarding jars, you guys. I got a whole stash of jars over here. I've got a whole stash of jars in front of me that I'm going to be working on. And guess what we're going to have pretty soon? We're going to have a sale. I've never done an auction or a sale on my page. So I've been getting lots of good feedback from you guys saying that you want some items, and guess what? I have tons of jars. So I'm going to trim them all up and offer them for you guys. Hello, Miss Mary. Very soon. I don't have a date yet, but you all stay tuned. I'm going to look at comments in both places because, you know, sometimes you just never know who you're going to see where. So the Craft on the Clock group link is probably popping up from the bottom of your screen if you're watching this live on Facebook. If not, you can find it in the video description if you're watching this later on YouTube, you guys. All right. So I love jars. I mean, that's no secret, right? I've shown you lots of different techniques when it comes to jars, but here's just a few. We've done a grubby jar technique. This is one of my favorites, and I love putting string lights down in these. They give a little grubby jar light, gives off such a cute glow. But this is a combination of Mod Podge and instant coffee, okay? That's one technique. The other technique is just chalk paint with a finish of coffee grunge over top of it, which brings me to realize that I forgot to bring my coffee grunge to the table. I may need backup, Gray. She hears me. And then we've done some stamping with some tea bags. It's still in the fridge. It's just cold. You can just bring it to me. We'll just work with it cold. We've used some tea bags, stamped them up, and grubbed them up to make this look like a real light grubby jar. This is kind of a combination of techniques. Thank you. And by the way, lots of you have asked me about the tea bags, and so it's not something that I thought would be a question, but I thought I'll just address it because I have a tea bag that is handy, and I thought, hey, why not show you guys what a tea bag paper looks like when I put it on these jars. It's a tea bag. I brewed some tea today. This is just the Walmart brand family size tea bag, you guys. I've brewed my tea, and this is actually still wet. The tea grounds are still wet in there. Now, usually I'll kind of set this on the side of my sink or whatever and let it dry. Sometimes I empty it when it's still wet. It just depends. But there's no right or wrong way to do it. So what I do, the little string of the tea bag is kind of tied at the top. So I cut that little string at the top and I just unfold it, okay? Unfold it like this. And now a lot of times you can see, let's look at this. The tops of these tea bags are still really white, but then you've got some dark good color. If you want to get that even color all the way around. You might want to scatter your tea bags around and let that soak into all parts of the paper before you really start emptying it out. So I've just kind of pushed it down. I've kind of squeezed those tea grounds into that paper a little bit. But you just carefully unfold it. And on the inside, let me show you, there is a seam right there down the middle. You'll want to do this over a trash can or over a bowl. These tea grounds are good to put in your garden. Unfold that seam. Now, I know that not all tea bags are probably made identical, but they're pretty close. And you can unfold it, and then you're just going to dump the tea grounds out, okay? I'm dumping the tea grounds out. Now, if they're dry, they're going to come out a lot easier and a lot cleaner. So what I do is I just take like a paper towel or my finger, and I scrape off what I can if it's wet. Now, if it's dry, they're going to come off really easy. Scrape off what I can, and then I lay this flat to dry. And once it's dry, I flake the rest of those tea grounds off. And then what you have, let me show you. Let me grab a paper towel. What you have left behind is an amazing paper. What did I do with those? Here they are. Amazing paper that you can use to stamp on or leave them plain and decoupage them onto your jars, just like so. And that's how I've done this jar right here. Giving it some stamps on the tea bags and then just decoupage them onto that jar. And that way you can use this jar and light still, you know, shines through, but you're not able to see through it like a clear jar. Okay, so like a clear jar, for example, I mean, you all know what a clear jar is, but this is not nearly as decorative and as cute to put lights in because you can see right through it. So if you put something over it, like the tea bags, it gives the glow, but you cannot see all the way through it. Does that make sense? So I just wanted to explain that real quick because I've had lots of questions about the tea bags, and I thought, I just never thought to explain it that way, because I think some of you think when I say these are used tea bags, maybe you're not, maybe I'm not clarifying that they're used tea bag papers. So that's why I wanted to clarify. So let's set this over to the side. All right. So the blackened beeswax, you guys, if you're not familiar or if you're kind of a newbie at primitive style decorating, blackened beeswax is a pretty popular technique. However, it can be really messy, really involved, and it can be really expensive. And I don't like to spend a whole lot of money when I'm doing DIY home decor. I like my items to look expensive, but not actually be expensive. So we're going to try a faux blackened beeswax finish. Now, just like it says, blackened beeswax is actually beeswax that has been blackened. And a lot of times you see ornaments or decorative items that have been dipped in the beeswax that is blackened. And a lot of times they darken the beeswax. It's not yellow anymore. They blacken it with either carbon or some different spices or sometimes even a dye, but that can be really messy. And get a black, like a rustic primitive style look to that beeswax. A lot of times you'll see blackened beeswax candles and things like that. But then what they do is they scent that beeswax with like cinnamon oils and spices. And you guessed it, cinnamon is one of the popular spices that they use to scent that beeswax. So, Rhonda says, I've been working on a stash of tea bags. Your husband thinks you've lost your mind. That's funny. I know, I've got a stash, and then I've got a few more tea bags over by my sink that I need to empty out. So a good stash. And they go, if you get the family size tea bags, they make really good size pieces. I mean, that's probably a 5 by 7, maybe not quite 5, maybe a 4 by 8 or something. I don't know, but a good size piece of paper that you can use to cover a jar, you know, and that's from the bottom up, and you can see how much room I have left at the top. So you're going to have to try it with some beeswax. Do you have beeswax, Missy? Yes. There's an art to it, and it's really involved, and sometimes it can be a little expensive because if you're buying beeswax especially, but if you have your own bees, then you're all good to experiment with it, right? Hey, Miss Crystal, how are you? I know I'm never live in the evenings. But it's spring break this week, and we've got a little bit different routine around the Campbell house this week, and so I thought, well, why not? Why not try a live evening session with you guys tonight? So that's why we're here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with black chalk paint, because you all probably know chalk paint adheres to glass really well, whereas acrylic paint does not. So if you're going to be painting on glass, you always want to go with chalk paint, okay? And I'm just using the Waverly brand. You can use any black chalk paint, and this covers really well. And I just have an empty, clean pickle jar. That's my go-to lately. So I'm going to give this a good coat, a base coat of black chalk paint to start, okay? And then we're going to experiment. We're going to experiment. This is going to kind of be a combination of several different techniques that we've done here on my page in the past. So this will be interesting to see if it turns out. If not, we're just going to have fun with it. We're just going to have fun and chit chat tonight. I will be live until, let's see, until 9 p.m. Central Time tonight. And then we have another creator coming up live in the Craft on the Clock group. And this Friday, we have a fun Friday coming up. We are doing some repurposing with plastic. So lots of DIY and craft ideas on how you can repurpose plastic items and make them something very extraordinary. So you never know what you're going to see on Fridays in the Craft on the Clock group, but we're always sure to give you some good inspiration, some fun conversation, some friendly interaction, and just a good time with good friends over in the Craft on the Clock group. All right, so I've given it a base coat of that black chalk paint. Now let's give it a quick dry. This chalk paint does dry really quick. So let's get it dry. And then we're going to probably put one more coat on it because I do want to make sure it's covered really well. Because what they do is they actually take the objects and they dip them into the blackened beeswax and they coat them really well. I think that idea originated is when during primitive days when they needed to preserve items. So I couldn't even tell you. I have not been able to find enough information, and I haven't done a lot of digging and researching, but I know that waxing items was a method of preserving. So if you know more details about the blackened beeswax technique, you all chime in. My comments on my camera device they have stopped. Miss Missy, you'll give me some beeswax in April. Oh, you're so awesome. Misty from the Crafty Farmers, she is meeting up with us. There are over 50 creators, you guys, meeting up that last week of April 26th, 27th, and 28th. We are coming to Texas. Yes, we're storming Texas, and we are going to be junking and hitting up Magnolia Market and Canton Trade Days. If you'd like to know more, send me a message, and I will give you all the details on where you can meet us for some good shopping and junking adventures. You all know I love shopping for vintage finds, and in fact, my group that I have called All Things Vintage and Thrifted, we are about to hit 100,000 members over there in that group, you guys. I'm blown away. And that's the group where we host, about 3 times a year, we host an event called the Vintage and Thrifted DIY Marathon. It's an all weekend thing. If you love like repurposing vintage items, or primitives, antiques, even thrift store finds. We have a whole weekend devoted to that. And we do that at least 3 times a year, sometimes 4. And it's an amazing event. It's all virtual. You watch it in that group. It's all live stream broadcasts. And we have a market day also as part of that weekend. And that is where we have live sellers, whether it's vintage items, handmade items, thrift store finds, I mean, all kinds of things. We have a market day that you can shop. So if you have trouble finding vintage items where you live, you can shop with us all day. On Fridays are our market day. On Friday, June the 2nd, will be our summer vintage and thrifted market day. And then Saturday and Sunday, June 3rd and 4th, will be the DIY days. That's where we have creatives and DIYers that actually show you how to take those vintage finds and turn them into beautiful objects, decor, things that you can use around your home. It's so fun, you guys. I encourage you to check it out. Now, I'm not going to paint the bottom right now because you know, as I'm working on this, I kind of need to set it down. But I will, after the sides are all dry later, I'll flip this over and just paint that and let it dry on its own. Now, I did kind of rush this a little bit. I do believe. A little bit because it's kind of wanting to stick. Now, while this is still wet, I'm going to take some cinnamon and I'm going to lightly sprinkle this onto my jar. Now, you know how I told you that blackened beeswax is a combination of usually like charcoal, beeswax, and then cinnamon spices and cinnamon oils. So I'm dusting this. I'm going to dust it. And then when it dries, I'm going to kind of smooth it out with my hand, kind of like I would if it was like baby powder. So when we did a faux tin technique several months ago, I think it was back in the fall, we did a faux tin, blackened tin technique, and we used baby powder on top of black chalk paint, and it turned out amazing. So that's kind of, this is, you know, when I said that this was kind of a mixture of techniques, that's one of the techniques that I was referring to. So let's see. Hey, Miss Tracy from Crafted Moms Corner Market, how are you? Hey, Miss Lori, glad that you're on here. Miss Tony, you love the online vintage and thrifted event. It's my favorite event that we do. In fact, it's one of the only events that I help coordinate anymore. I mean, I do some things with Craft on the Clock, obviously, but as far as my soul baby here, marathon events, that's the only one that I do, and it's super special to me, and so many of you as well love it. So now, we sprinkled that cinnamon on while that paint was still wet, hoping that it would kind of stick to it, okay? And I'm just going to give it a dry because I want those layers of paint to really get good and dry. And then we're going to try dusting, or well, actually just kind of rubbing my hand over it to kind of smooth that cinnamon out where it doesn't look quite so bold, okay? Just do a Google search or a Pinterest search, or even you can probably even go to Etsy and search blackened beeswax, and you'll see all kinds of ideas. And maybe I'll try my hand with some real beeswax soon. But right now, I think the faux beeswax is definitely the go-to. Thank you, Miss Regina, for sprinkling us out. Miss Betsy, thank you for sprinkling us out. Love it when you guys let me know that you've done that, and I appreciate that so much. Appreciate it so much. All right. I want to make sure that this is really good and dry. And then we're just going to kind of top it off with some cheesecloth and maybe a little bit of Sweet Annie as well. We'll see. Hello, Miss Tabitha. How are you? My phone is kind of buzzing like crazy. I've got text messages coming in. I hope it's not interfering with our live stream. So hopefully it doesn't mess it up. Since I have 2 layers of this chalk paint on, I do want to make sure that it's good and dry. So I am going to spend a little extra time. Give it a little bit extra attention. Hello, Miss Edie from Massachusetts. First time watching. Welcome. So excited to have you. My name is Tracy Campbell. If you are new around here, I love old things. And if they're not old, I try to make them look old. With style and character, though. So I love things that look vintage and primitive. So that's my style. And if you don't necessarily like those things, you can still take my ideas and make them your own style. Linda, you did a faux beeswax using a grunge technique and made a lamb with a mold. Yes. Lambs are super popular, like, theme when it comes to primitive decor too. I bet that was beautiful. I would love to see a picture. And in fact, if you want to, you can post a picture in my All Things Vintage and Thrifted group. If you have vintage, or if you thrift and you like to show things that you collect, or even if you try some of the projects that I've shown you here on my page, you can share your photos only, over there in that group. We would love to see them. Yes, I'm going to try to grow my very own Sweet Annie this year too. I had a sweet follower send me some seeds, so I'm going to try to grow those as well this year. I've heard it's super easy to grow. Now, let's see. I don't want to brush this super hard. I do still see some dark spots in the paint, which could still mean that it could still be a little bit damp. So I'm going to take my hand and I'm going to kind of smooth this out. You know when you smear baby powder on a dark surface? If you've ever done that. You know it kind of leaves like a powdery looking finish behind. That's kind of the look that I'm going for. I don't want this sprinkly look. I want it to look powdery. Okay? Cinnamon powder. Hi, Miss Francis. How are you, sweet friend? Do we see Miss Chassetta on here? Did you share some pictures today? Awesome, Miss Joy. I think I remember. Were you the one that sent in some pictures? Did you do the faux sugar molds? The sugar cones? Did you do those? I was going to show you guys that. They turned out so cute. But I do have a crack in my large one, so I'm going to put a little stream of hot glue in that crack and kind of push it back together on mine. But I love those. They turned out so good. This is turning out really cute. I liked smoothing it out. And since it did stick to that paint, it's going to kind of hold it on there. Do you see that? Now, how cool is that? Now, how cool would that be with a label on it? I didn't want to put a label on it because I was kind of testing the finish out to see if it would work. So probably what I'll do with this one, I'll probably add like a little hang tag to this one. Is probably what I'll do. That's probably what we'll do. You love the faux sugar code. Oh, thank you. So let me just show you that real quick. This one is the one I made when I got off the live. This is the one that I made with you guys on the live, and you can kind of see a little bit of the difference. I think I put a little bit too much Mod Podge over this one. It kind of has a little bit of a sheen to it. So I'll probably dust that one with a little bit more cinnamon to kind of soften that glimmer. I don't like the shine, the sheen to it. But this one, what did I do? I Mod Podged it, put cinnamon, baby powder, and a little bit of salt, fine sea salt, okay, in that one. And it has just a few sprinkles of diamond dust, not much, because I don't like a whole lot of shimmer, bling. But mix that all in and coated that sugar cone with that, I'm thinking. And then I Mod Podged, or no, not Mod Podged it. Then I went over it with some coffee grunge and then dusted it again with some more cinnamon. And that was the trick. Love how that turned out. Now you can see on the back side of this one right here, I don't know if y'all will be able to see that right there, I do have a little bit of a crack starting. So I'll put a small string of hot glue down in that and then just press it back together. You can see it's super easy to just press it back together. But as it dries, you will get a few cracks. But once it's cured, and it'll take probably a month for it to completely dry, you know, and you can still get some cracks over that time period, but just put a little bit of bead of hot glue in there and press it back together, and it's good as new. Okay, so let's finish off the top of this blackened beeswax real quick. Hey, Miss Denise. Thank you, Miss Tracy. It's something I had been thinking of forever, and it was just, I had to figure out a way to execute it. You know how it goes. Sometimes we just get these wild hair ideas, and you're thinking, how in the world can I do that and make it look the way I have it in my head? And I've played, and I haven't even done it. I just kind of thought it out in my head so many times. And I thought, no, that won't work. No, that won't work. And just kind of kept going. And finally, it dawned on me. And you know what made me think about it? It was the weirdest thing. The weirdest thing. You know, I'm always thinking about things. And I know if you're creative, you do the same thing, right? But let me show you what sparked this sparked it, the idea. You know what this is? This is a produce bag from the grocery store. This right here is what sparked the idea of how to do it. Isn't that crazy how our brains can work sometimes? Hey, Miss Penny from Remake It Pretty. You're so sweet. I love you, Miss Penny. I hope you're doing well. I always love popping in and seeing what you and Alan are creating. And just love you guys over there at Remake It Pretty. And I'm going to get to hug your neck in a few weeks over in Texas, you guys. All right, so I'm taking some coffee-stained cheesecloth. Is that not looking awesome or what? Oh, my goodness. Okay, so how are we going to finish this off at the top? Let's see. We've got several options. Let's see what we got. Sorry if I'm shaking the camera. Hey, Miss Beth, Mary, and Julie, thank you all for hopping on. I have some coffee-stained muslin fabric, which I like to use a lot. I wish I had my black and cream checked, but I don't have that. What? That's a great question. I'm not even sure where it's at. I think, actually, I know where it's at. I think it's under that, lift that table thing right there up. It's in that box. It's in a big baggie. Yeah. Careful. Thank you. We'll use this one. I've got some black and cream checked homespun. I think will look really cute since we're going with the whole blackened look. All right. These are just fabric strips that I have coffee stained and then dried in the oven, you guys. So if you've not tried that, you may want to try it out. It gives it a really cool look. I think we might even use a rusty star on this too. Let's pull that out. Did my comment stop working? You can still purchase sugar. Oh, is that right, Darlia? I did not know that. Did not know that. That's awesome. You can get cheesecloth in a package at Walmart. Yes, Robin, I usually get mine in the canning department in like the grocery store. But Hobby Lobby has it too. I went on a hunt one day trying to find it because I had so many of you tell me that you've seen it in Hobby Lobby before. And I'm like, I never see it. So this, my camera is backwards, sorry. This is from Hobby Lobby, and this is already, well, this is unbleached cheesecloth. So it already has like a creamy, natural tone to it. I would still probably grunge it, you know, just because I like a little bit of the darker golden brown color. But it's very similar. If you didn't want to go through the trouble of coffee grunging it, that's an option too. And that was $5.99 for 6 yards. And it's 36 inches wide. So that's not bad. I think that may be more than what you get in the package at Walmart. And I haven't bought any at Walmart in a while, so I'm not for sure about that. But I think that is more than what you get there. Okay, so just this long strip. You let's see. Where did you, I coffee stained my cloth, but let it dry on its own. Yes, you can do that. What does the oven do for it? The oven kind of gives it a little bit of a crispier texture. So that it's a little bit, think of the difference between a wired ribbon and an unwired ribbon. And I know that sounds weird, but when you bake it in the oven, it gives it just a little bit more of a crispiness to it, which makes it a little bit perkier. I don't even know if that's the right word, but it just gives it a little bit more character. And sometimes it can give it a little bit different coloration to it as well. So just try a small batch and see what, if you like it. I put it in the oven on a cookie sheet for about, It just depends on how much fabric it is and how well you wring it out. It can take anywhere from like 15 to 20 minutes to sometimes 30, depending on how much you're doing. But lay it on a cookie sheet and set your timer for every 5 minutes. Set it at 250 degrees Fahrenheit, and just kind of toss it around every 5-10 minutes so that it kind of warms evenly, because if you let it sit in the same position for too long, you can get burnt spots on it, which sometimes kind of adds some character too, but you don't want to catch anything on fire. Love perky fabric, Miss Francis. I know, I couldn't even think of the right word. You know how it is. When you're on a live, you know, the right words just never fail to escape your brain. Hello. Let's see here. We got Miss Simone Phillips. Awesome. So happy to have y'all here. You can't find the red stripe ticking anywhere in Virginia. Checking Hobby Lobby several times. It's hard. Now, I will tell you, there is, my goodness, I cannot think of the name of this right now. Once again, the things that you need to know when you need to know them. There is a, I want to say they may be an Amish community, has an online store, and they have tons of homespun fabrics. And I was actually going to be reaching out to them to see if they would like to participate in our Vintage and Thrifted Market Day. And so so many of you are having trouble finding, you know, really cute homespun fabrics. I thought that would be something really beneficial that would help you guys out. And so I'm looking into reaching out to them, and I have their name written down somewhere. Just the name is escaping me right now. Some of you may know it. If you're a seamstress, baked fabric is like fabric with vellum. That's a good analogy. I like that. I sometimes encourage the burnt spots. I think so too, Darlia. I think so too. My Joann's, Roxanne, has no homespun whatsoever. Like, I even spoke with them one time, and I'm like, y'all are gonna, I'm here in Joann's looking for homespun, and you telling me you don't have any. I was like, you're gonna force me to go to Hobby Lobby. And here I was trying to give you all business. But if you don't have it, you don't have it. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna move along. And I had to go get it at a Hobby Lobby. Now, even my Hobby Lobby doesn't have a whole big selection. It just has a couple of the basics. It has a red and cream. It has the black and cream, of course. It has a couple different stripes. Trying to think what else. It has a couple of navy ones, but I'm not crazy about the pattern of them. And then it has a blue, sort of like a blue ticking fabric. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This jar right here, I don't know if you all can see that fabric right there, that strip. They have that, and I like that a lot too for some. But I'm wanting to find some real pretty navy homespun, and they just don't have it at my Hobby Lobby. Okay, now I can see why I tied this. I'm not real crazy about the jar, the finish on the jar right there. So I'm going to see if I can't spin this around to get my knot. No, it's not going to cooperate with me, of course. I should have looked at that. Thank you, Miss Jennifer. How are you, sweet friend from Home Sweet Create? You guys, I'm never on here live, and I've missed so many of you all in the evenings when I'm going, you know, I never go live in the evenings hardly at all. It just doesn't work out for me usually because the whole family, you know, is usually home, or we're baseball or something going on. So the evenings just don't work out for me. And this is so much fun seeing y'all in the comments today. What if you dyed it with Ritz dye? I don't know. Ritz dye makes me nervous. I don't know. Just because I've never used it, I think. I'm just nervous. Okay. So I just put that little tie on there. And you know, guys, I'm going to add some Sweet Annie. Hang on. Let me see if I can grab my Sweet Annie from here. Ugh. It's just barely out of arm's reach. Hold on. I got it. I got it. I'm going to add some of this dried Sweet Annie because I love it so. All right, so let me just cut a sprig out. I just put it in this basket, and I keep it out because it smells so good. That's a little big. So let me pinch off a few of these ends. Okay. And I think we'll put 2 of these little sprigs in there. Let's see. Okay, I've pinched off a few of these ends. See how I've kind of left the ends a little bare at the end? Online fabric store. Okay, I have not checked that. I'll look into that, Tracy. Thank you for sharing. I have not looked into that. And if I think of that store that I was telling you about, it'll come to me probably when I get off. It smells amazing. I got an enormous box and it's of it the past weekend. Oh, I said, what? Let me see if it'll let me see the rest of your comment. What did you order? This box is smelling the house up. You know, I was reading that, you know, of course, I'm thinking of like old mercantile, like, I don't know, it makes me think of like Little House on the Prairie, the show, where, you know, you have the old mercantile or the store. They would hang bundles of this Sweet Annie as a natural freshener, and it would like, think of it as how we would light a candle, or we have potpourri, or, you know, we have all kinds of things these days, automatic air fresheners and all that jazz. But this was their air freshener back in the day. You know, of course I'm sure they would use other herbs as well. But this was very aromatic, and their choice of hanging, they would hang bundles of this and kind of be aromatic in different groceries, and even, you know, in not so pleasant spaces of your home, they would hang bundles of this as well. So I'm just kind of, I'm pulling this cheesecloth up a little bit so I can kind of stick these little stems of this Sweet Annie in there, and really just priming this up. Guys, this is so simple. You could do this in probably like 20 minutes, but I'm just enjoying chit-chatting with you guys. You can't find Sweet Annie, Peggy. I find it on Etsy, but I will tell you that we have I think we've shopped Etsy dry when it comes to the Sweet Annie, because, you know, you have growers that grow it, but they only have a certain amount of supply on hand until the next growing season, and we have really hit them up. I know the shop that I purchased mine from originally, they have been sold out for the season. And so when the growing season starts again, they will have more on hand. Just keep checking. Just go to Etsy and search dried Sweet Annie. Sometimes, depending on your location, sometimes you can find sellers that listed on Facebook Marketplace as well. So that's another idea to check. Okay. I just put a little Rusty Barn Star on here. I may even add a little hang tag to this later. Is that not so cute? Now I'm going to kind of pull my cheesecloth down over my jar a little bit so that it kind of lays a little bit more flat. And I might trim that up a little bit because I do want my Faux Blackened Beeswax jar to show. But I love the look of that. Yeah, it's way too long over here. Let me trim that up. It's hiding too much of that jar. Okay. Let's trim it off a little bit. That's an easy fix. Okay. You're going to try. It's so easy. So easy. So easy. So you got to try it. And how cute is that with our little primitive sugar cones that we've made and any of the other jars that we've tried in the past? This just adds to your collection, right? I mean, I love having jars, but I like to have them a little bit different, but they all kind of coordinate. How cute would those be together? We've got the same kind of fabric at the top, but a little bit different technique. Let's see, where'd that little grubby jar? Here was the grubby jar, which is kind of looks like a faux stoneware look. Now my light's really making it glare, but you can see they're definitely different. They're definitely different. I'm glad this turned out. Now here's another one where we did the stamped tea bag papers. Isn't that so cute? I love it. Now if you go over it with the Mod Podge, it's probably going to give it a sheen that you're not going to like, because that blackened beeswax look is supposed to look powdery and soft, you know. So don't spray over it with any kind of sealer or anything like that, because you'll lose that beeswax look. Okay, I love that. I love that. Pam, you've got a printer to print off all the prints. Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you, Miss Shar. You all have got jars out of my ears. So we're going to have a jar sale soon. Each one's going to be different and one of a kind. So I can't wait. Can't wait to get the rest of I probably have 20 jars or more. Just waiting. Just waiting for you guys. Oh, thank you. Thank you. You'll love it. Awesome. You saved some jars. You also found some jar pie tins. Yes. Yes. What was the last pie that we made? Oh, the little crabapple pie. Yeah, it's over in my kitchen. I can't grab it. That would turned out so cute. And what was the other one that we made not too long ago? I've been wanting to try a faux lemon tart. I've been trying to, I almost did that tonight. Almost. But this one was something easier to do late at night. So, black paint and cinnamon. Yes. Black chalk paint sprinkled with cinnamon. And then once it's completely dry, you just kind of soften it out like a powdery look. And it's supposed to look like a blackened beeswax jar. So you could take the same technique and do it to, like if you do some, what am I wanting to say? Some clay, like some air dry clay molds or cutouts, or goodness, what all could you do this to? Bowls. You could do this to like some bowls, give it a faux finish. You could do this to, you could even do this to some pie tins. Yes. I mean, think outside of the box. You could really, I mean, it's just chalk paint and cinnamon, but it doesn't give you, it's not like the rust. I'm not calling it rust. It's the blackened beeswax. If you will Google and search on Pinterest, blackened beeswax, it's super popular with primitive style decorating, and it's so easy. Thank you, Miss Tabitha. I'm so excited y'all were here to join me for a late time craft. It doesn't happen very often, you guys. I don't know when I'll be live again next, but hopefully sometime within the next 2 days. You all stay tuned. If you're not on my Telegram, that's where you'll want to go to find my Telegram link. I send out notices on there all the time. So down there on your screen, somewhere at the bottom, if you're watching this on Facebook, there is a little button down here that sort of looks like a paper clip. Okay, mine is like right here on my phone. On my iPad, it's like right in the middle. It looks like a little link or chain link or paper clip. If you tap on that, it'll say featured links, okay? If you tap on it, featured links, and then you'll want to click on join my channel for notifications, and it says My Sweet Home Living. That's what'll show you where you can sign up for my notifications on Telegram, okay? Now, Telegram is a free app, you guys. I know when you download it, it gives you this warning that it's not safe. If you are not sharing any kind of personal information like credit card information, address information, you're totally fine. You're totally fine. I think it's just kind of part of common notifications now that they tell you those things, and so it kind of alarms you. But everything is safe. We don't share any kind of personal information on there anyway, so it's totally safe for you. It's free for you, free for me, and so it's a win-win, you guys. All right, stay tuned. We have another crafter coming up live over in the Craft on the Clock group. And thank you all so much for joining me here on a late night craft. And I will see you again so soon. Until next time, bye guys.